This is NASCAR Coast to Coast, presented by Whelen, also brought to you by Hercules Tires. Now, with the latest NASCAR local, regional, touring, and international racing news and views, here are Hannah Newhouse and Kyle Rickey.
Hey everyone, and welcome to NASCAR Coast to Coast here on the Motor Racing Network. We've got a little bit of a different scene set here for you. I'm Hannah Newhouse. Coming to you from my living room, Kyle Rickey is trying to prove that he is, again, at Stafford. I don't think anyone behind you, Kyle, is practicing social distancing, though.
So we have learned a lot about technology in the last week. Last week, we did an audio show only because the studios at Motor Racing Network in Concord, North Carolina are closed. In the days since, we have discovered Zoom. And in the days since we discovered Zoom, I discovered this chroma key feature that kind of sort of works. So we're going to put Stafford Motor Speedway, my NASCAR home track, behind me because that's where I often do the show during the summer months from their press box. Obviously, that's not happening here. So we're going to see if this chroma key feature holds up for the entire show.
Well, maybe next week I'll try and get a Meridian Speedway back behind.
Yes.
Although
but I like your living room.
We do have some technical difficulties with this. Give us a big old smile here for us, Kyle.
See, the chroma key is it's based on the wall behind you, and the wall is white. So when I smile or open my eyes wide, and you'll be able to see Stafford Speedway in my eyes, which is weird, and on my teeth. So, and on the MRN logo on my shirt. So, you know, we're all learning this together. Again, I didn't know what Zoom was a week ago.
And we're having fun with it at that. I mean, when we were doing test runs, you were at Disney multiple times. At one point, you were once again with your celebrity crush. Am I not right? Who is it again?
Hillary Duff.
Was it Hillary?
I was just taking pictures that were on my desktop, and it was a picture of Epcot on my desktop, so we put that behind me, and it was like I was at Disney World. So again, we're all learning this together.
Well, I guess we can get into some racing things here, or lack thereof. Not a lot of racing obviously been happening on track. Everyone practicing safe social distancing, washing their hands, staying at home. We thought we maybe had a glimpse of some racing on the horizon. We were set to go back racing potentially at Martinsville was going to be that first opening weekend, but some news came out of Virginia just of recently that they're going to extend their stay-at-home ordinance as well as no large gatherings, and that could hurt our Martinsville weekends, Kyle.
Which includes the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour, back for the first time at the Martinsville Speedway in a long time, almost a decade. So we'll see what happens there. Nothing officially has been announced by NASCAR yet as far as when. In fact, we don't know when any of these races that we have missed here the last 3 weeks will jump into the schedule. Everything's been postponed. Nothing's been canceled, and we expect the same for Martinsville. But right now it is set for the first weekend of May, May 8th, May 9th, that Friday night under the lights at Martinsville for the Modifieds. But you mentioned the order from the governor of Virginia. The stay-at-home ban now is, I believe, until like the second week of June.
Yeah,
so,
June 30th, I think.
Yeah, that's going to affect several race weekends there because we're supposed to be in Richmond, I believe, the following weekend after Martinsville. So we'll see. Thompson was supposed to be this weekend. Obviously, that's been postponed as well, the icebreaker. And unfortunately for us up here in Connecticut, it was going to be a spectacular weekend. 58 degrees on Saturday and like 64 degrees on Sunday. Nothing but sunshine. It would have been a perfect weekend to open up the racing season up here in Connecticut. But unfortunately, that's going to have to wait as well.
We've had some irregularly nice weather as well down here in Concord, Charlotte area. It's been 80 degrees. It's been nice because we've been able to go outside. They're allowing us to go out on walks and that kind of stuff, take our dogs out as long as you're practicing social distancing. So it's been nice that we've been able to get outside. Of course, you had to trickle in some rainy days there. Wouldn't be the Charlotte area if not. But ideal temperatures for racing, which I feel like is almost a little bit more of a jab of the racetrack right now. But instead, we are confined to our homes. I've gotten a ton of projects done, so I can't complain too much about that. As you can see, I moved.
Looks like you got some more to do once we get done here.
Yes, lack of living room furniture. That is our next project. So at this point, we might just build a fort. We've got all the time in the world. Who knows?
Which I have done with my niece.
Yeah.
So,
your niece is probably a lot younger than me.
She is. She's 3.
Yeah.
So not by many years, but by a few.
Yeah. But speaking of postponements too, some news across the pond as well. The NASCAR Euro Series has postponed their Brands Hatch race. Yep. I know Julia Landauer, obviously one of our stateside racers here, was supposed to go run that full season. She is just distraught over all this. Obviously, this was a big break for her, the opportunity to go run that full Euro Series. And what a bad time for a national or a global pandemic to hit.
Thank God for her dad jokes, though, on social media. It's keeping not only her entertained, but all of her viewers entertained. Brands Hatch was supposed to be run June 6th and 7th. It was going to be the second race weekend for the NASCAR Whelen Euro Series there in the UK. Their ban goes through June as well, so they're not sure when they're going to reschedule that event. I believe it's going to be the end of the season. On a positive note, 33 teams have signed up for the NASCAR Whelen Euro Series, a record, both in Elite 1 and Elite 2, same car, different driver. So now their current season opener in Most, Czech Republic, at Autodrome Most on June 20th and 21st. So hopefully by then, 2.5 months away, we'll be on the upswing from all this.
We can all cross our fingers and hope we will be racing by then. Lots of virtual racing has been filling our time since then. We can talk about that a little bit later in the show. But stick with us. We'll have Jo Jo Wilkinson, a late model driver from Alabama. She'll be on the show here a little bit later with us, talking about the last 2 years. She's had an eventful last 2 years for being pretty young. But we'll get her here in just a short moment. But before we do that, we saw a couple weeks ago, Kyle, ARCA, obviously, part of all of this has been postponed. Yep. Haven't really been able to run. The first one being New Smyrna Pensacola that they postponed there. Yep. But a driver that we know familiar to the ARCA West Series looks like they might be making another run at that title.
Yeah, Brittany Zamora drove for Bill McAnally Racing a year ago, announced on her social media accounts this week that she will drive for Jefferson Racing on a part-time basis. The ARCA West scheduled, again, it's fluid, supposed to be back in action, Douglas County Speedway in Oregon on May 16th. So again, that's 6 weeks away. So hopefully they'll be able to resume their season at that time. I'm not overly optimistic, but you never know. I mean, nationally, we're on lockdown until the 30th of April, I believe, is what the press said the other day. So hopefully May is a better month.
Yes, one can hope. I know after recording this, it is April 1st. We have no April Fool's jokes for you. Unfortunately, all of this is fast.
I'm at Stafford Speedway.
That is an April Fool's joke. This is all an April Fool's joke, realistically.
It is.
But yes, March was the month that wouldn't end. It seemed like we're now in April. We've got, like you said, another 30 days. I know we live in a cul-de-sac now, and the kids in the cul-de-sac are practicing their social distancing, racing their bicycles. Anything to get that racing fixed. But we'll take a quick short break here, and when we return, we'll dial up Jo Jo Wilkinson and talk to her about her past 2 years in racing.
Whelen designs and manufactures reliable and powerful warning lights, white illumination lighting, sirens, controllers, and high-powered warning systems for automotive, aviation, and mass notification industries worldwide. Every part of every Whelen product is proudly designed and manufactured in America and is tested on site to meet the toughest industry certifications. On the road, in the air, and around the world, Whelen is trusted to be seen, trusted to be heard, trusted to perform.
Sir, are you aware you were going 40 miles an hour? This is a residential area.
Sure, but I'm on my lawnmower? Wait, am I getting a ticket?
No, I've just never seen anyone top 9 miles an hour on one of those bad boys. And mow their entire lawn in 30 seconds? What got into you?
Well, it did fuel up at Sunoco this morning.
At Sunoco, we know how to fuel peak performance. We've been doing it for American racing for over 50 years. Fuel your best.
Citywide to countryside. Whatever you drive, wherever you go, Hercules Tires has the value, selection, and industry-leading warranty to get you there, no matter where the road takes you. Go to HerculesTire.com. There you can find the nearest authorized Hercules retail location to you. Plus, you can use the Tire Tracker to find out which Hercules tire fits your vehicle the best. That's HerculesTire.com. Hercules Tires. Ride on our strength.
Back to NASCAR Coast to Coast, brought to you by Whelen and by Hercules Tires. Here are Hannah Newhouse and Kyle Rickey.
All right, everyone, welcome back to NASCAR Coast to Coast. We are now joined by late model driver Jo Jo Wilkinson. First off, you're out of school here. Have you been doing anything exciting with this free time that you now have on your hands?
With all this free time, it's actually been kind of boring because you can't go to the race shop. You can't hang out with your friends, really. I mean, you can have a little bit of friends over, but that's about it. So just hanging around the house, getting stuff done.
How's the online schooling going? I know most students up here in the Northeast started the whole virtual learning this week. How's it going for you guys down there?
We haven't even started yet. We don't know whenever we're supposed to start either, so.
Hey, it works. I mean, it's just a long spring break for you guys. I mean, we'll take it as we go.
Yeah.
We'll get into your racing here. I want to start with something that happened, I believe, last year. You were involved in a pretty good wreck that actually involved your leg. You were in a boot for a while. If I am right, I believe it was broken at one point. Was it at Pensacola? Is that where it happened at?
Yes, ma'am. It was at Pensacola at Five Flags.
And that was a pretty hard hit, put you in a boot there for a while as well. Take us through that event and what happened and ultimately the next couple months of recovery, because you were able to hop in a race car not but a few months later.
Okay, so we were actually at the Grand American Race Car Shop about 20 minutes from my house, 10 minutes away, and me and Dad were sitting there working on the car, getting ready to go to Five Flags, and I was sitting under the lift, and Dad was letting the lift down. I was not paying attention, and it came down on my foot, and it fractured the top of my foot, and then I went to the hospital that night, and they said, if you're racing this weekend, we're not going to put you in a cast or anything. So here's a boot so you can walk around on it and just get your feeling back and stuff. So that's what I did. And I was actually wearing an ankle brace during the whole race. So I kind of just got off the apron a little bit. And when I got off, I just spun around. And then at the end of the straightaway, I was sitting sideways. I had plenty of time to put it back, but it wouldn't start. So I kept trying to start it, and then all of a sudden a car comes right there and T-bones me in the driver's side door. It was just a bad luck type of thing. Nothing, it was really nobody's fault. But yeah, that wreck, it's really hard to talk about it because I don't really remember anything. I had a concussion. The only reason I got back in a car was because of how proud my dad was of me just actually not giving up. And he told me that he was going to do it all for me and that God had a plan for me. So if I wanted to get back in, I could. And then a week later, we got a new race car. I was actually in a cast for about 2 months or so, all during summer. And then after I got out of the cast, I got put in physical therapy.
Didn't you win pretty quickly once you got back in a race car? Like your second race back, you were in victory lane?
Yes, sir. It was actually at Huntsville Speedway. The first race back was at Sayre. I was just getting the feel of the car, and I ended up third. But we went to a bigger race up at Huntsville Speedway, and I knew what the car could do. I knew what I could do, so I gave it my all, and then I gave it 110%, just like my crew did. And God was really looking over me at that time.
Now, I want to bring up, you mentioned your dad there. You're a second-generation driver. Your dad raced in the ARCA series as well. What's it been like working with him? I am a second-generation driver as well with my dad, and I know it is a very interesting dynamic when you have the dad-daughter and the driver-driver. Not only do we butt heads like crazy, but he's also my biggest supporter and my biggest critic. Talk about your relationship there with your dad, not only away from the racetrack, but at the racetrack.
He's definitely my biggest role model, my biggest inspiration. We butt heads most of the time at the racetrack, but it's only because he wants the best for me. So once he's on the radio and stuff, it's not like he's my father. He's a crew member. He's a coach for me. So I have to take him in as a coach and talk to him like he's my driving coach, crew chief, whatever else. We do really have a good connection. I don't think anybody, like you said, you have a good connection with your dad. I don't think anybody will ever understand the type of connection girl drivers have with their fathers.
So you mentioned a moment ago you got into motorsports and racing, obviously, through your dad, second-generation driver from Hueytown, Alabama, obviously a famous town for the motorsports world. So first off, at what point did you decide this is what I want to do? I want to be a race car driver. Kind of walk us through that early process in your career for you.
So I was really at our shop here now. So I just have to walk outside and then go do whatever. But he would always keep the race car here. All of his friends would come over and help him work on the race car and just get it ready to go run for that weekend. And I was so little, I just came outside and tried to help all I could. And there was these little kids driving a go-kart around, like not an actual go-kart, but just like a yard cart. So I went over there and I drove it all the time. And then I came back to the house and I told Dad, I was like, I really want to race. And then he, at age 9, he actually got me my first go-kart, and then I raced go-karts until age 12 and then got in the late model.
And you got in a late model at a young age as well. We often talk about the age in which kids are now branching up into full-size late model cars or full-size stock cars. You were 12 years old when you went into late models, straight from go-karts to late models.
Yes.
We've seen a lot of
I
drivers.
didn't even know how to shift a gear.
Yeah.
That's all right. I don't either.
I didn't know what I was doing.
Hey, it's okay. Like I said, Kyle doesn't even know how to do that, and he's I'm not gonna throw you under the bus here, Kyle. He's quite a bit older than us, and he can't even drive manual. So, but yeah, 12 years old. That's a really young age. But now you've gotten a handful of years underneath your belt in full size stock cars. You recently just ran, I believe, the Alabama 200, correct?
Yes.
And you were the only female in that field. Finished pretty well there. What are your aspirations? I mean, you're 16 years old, if I recollect here. What are your aspirations that you want to do in the next couple of years of your racing career?
I would really like to get an ARCA ride or even like a K&N ride. Not even just a ride, but just to go and able to like test and learn all I can. Just try to bring all of that in. And I've always wanted to race NASCAR. Haley Diggins, she's one of my biggest inspirations. Like Bobby Allison is my first, and she is probably my second, because what she's doing right now is just absolutely insane. Like going out there and running with the best of the best, even like Kevin Harvick talking to her and stuff, that's just crazy. I really just want to be able to get a good sponsor, maybe go test an ARCA car here and there, and then just go from there.
You mentioned Bobby Allison. How close are you to Bobby down there? Obviously, he was kind of founded the Alabama gang, 35, 40 years ago. How close are you to Bobby, and how instrumental is he in getting you into racing in your career?
Whenever I first started racing late models, he would always call me that Saturday morning or text me and tell me, good luck today. He actually, whenever I raced go-karts, I won a national championship up in North Carolina, and he actually took me to the banquet. So he was my banquet date for the championship. So we definitely do have a really close bond. He talks to me like I'm his granddaughter. And same thing for Red Farmer. He actually still races dirt cars up here in Talladega. So we go over there and try to help him as much as we can. So we're definitely real close.
And that's so cool to hear that connection, because there's not a lot of drivers, especially young drivers, that get to have connections with, NASCAR legends. I mean, they're so far and few in between anymore. So to have that connection is pretty cool. Looking ahead here, we're all kind of unsure of what the racing schedule holds for us. If and when racing does resume, what does your schedule look like? We know you race a lot down in the southern states. Do you have any plans to expand that up towards the Carolinas? What's your 2020 race schedule look like, all things considered?
My 2020 race schedule, it's kind of here and there, because we are a low budget race team. We try to race every single weekend, but if we do, it's going to be at like Huntsville Speedway, Sayre Speedway, and like the Montgomery and probably Pensacola as of right now. We've had a bit of struggles with the sponsorships and stuff because you can't really, it's so hard to get a good sponsorship, and we are a low budget race team. It's just me and Dad, so we don't really know what all we can do as of right now.
You've run the last 2 Snowflake 100s. What's that experience been like? Obviously, one of the biggest stages for pro late model racing in this country.
It's really crazy. I go down there with a mindset of just making the race because of how many great drivers there are. And we actually have made the race every time I've raced it. So going down there each year, it gives me a lot of determination to just run better and better as I go.
In that race, I've been fortunate enough to go down there twice now and be a part of the Snowball Derby weekend. And hands down, the Snowflake field is probably, if not more competitive, I would say, than the Derby field half the time, with just the close caliber of the cars, the amount of cars that show up. I mean, it's definitely a feat in itself, like you said, just to make the race. So, well, JoJo, again, thank you so much for joining us today. Enjoy this time off before school kicks back up, because we all know eventually it is going to somehow catch up to you, and you'll be stuck doing homework at a kitchen table as we record shows from our kitchen tables. But thank you again, and hopefully we'll get the chance to catch up with you here soon at a racetrack.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Thanks, you too.
Whelen designs and manufactures reliable and powerful warning lights, white illumination lighting, sirens, controllers, and high-powered warning systems for automotive, aviation, and mass notification industries worldwide. Every part of every Whelen product is proudly designed and manufactured in America and is tested on site to meet the toughest industry certifications. On the road, in the air, and around the world, Whelen is trusted to be seen, trusted to be heard, trusted to perform. Citywide to countryside. Whatever you drive, wherever you go, Hercules Tires has the value, selection, and industry-leading warranty to get you there, no matter where the road takes you. Go to HerculesTire.com. There you can find the nearest authorized Hercules retail location to you. Plus, you can use the tire tracker to find out which Hercules tire fits your vehicle the best. That's HerculesTire.com. Hercules Tires. Ride on our strength.
Back to NASCAR Coast to Coast, brought to you by Whelen and by Hercules Tires. Here are Hannah Newhouse and Kyle Rickey.
Welcome back to NASCAR Coast to Coast. Each and every week we have the opportunity to highlight one of NASCAR's short tracks across the country, brought to you by Whelen Engineering. And this week we're going to take a look at Alaska Raceway Park up in Palmer, Alaska. It is a 3rd-mile asphalt oval. Alaska Raceway is the scenic mountains of Palmer, Alaska, 41 miles north of Anchorage. The raceway was opened in 1964 as a drag strip, with the oval opening in 2016 as part of the NASCAR Whelen All-American Series. And it is Alaska's only NASCAR sanctioned track. The track is 63 feet above sea level, and the massive 6,398-foot Pioneer Peak awaits drivers at the finish line. Definitely a very scenic victory lane picture. Its adjacent quarter-mile dirt oval racetrack was operated from 1980 to 1986, and the season runs from Mother's Day to Labor Day. Again, that is Whelen Engineering's Whelen Track Spotlight, Alaska Raceway Park. Be sure to check it out.
Whelen designs and manufactures reliable and powerful warning lights, white illumination lighting, sirens, controllers, and high-powered warning systems for automotive, aviation, and mass notification industries worldwide. Every part of every Whelen product is proudly designed and manufactured in America and is tested on site to meet the toughest industry certifications. On the road, in the air, and around the world, Whelen is trusted to be seen, trusted to be heard, trusted to perform.
Back to NASCAR Coast to Coast, brought to you by Whelen and by Hercules Tires. Here are Hannah Newhouse and Kyle Rickey.
Well, Kyle, our first NASCAR Coast to Coast episode from remote locations.
Well, I'm always remote location.
That is true. You are always remote, but very rarely do I get to record from my living room, or what is going to become my living room.
Well, it's your living room. It's just not put together yet, so
we're getting there. That's
maybe next week we'll see a couch behind you.
Yeah, slowly. That'll be our progress. We'll do the Hannah's living room checkup.
What track should I go to next week to do the show?
That's a good question. If you want Kyle to go to a certain track, tweet us at NASCAR Coast to Coast or MRN Coast to Coast. What is our Twitter handle?
MRN Coast to Coast.
MRN Coast to Coast. And tell us what racetrack you want Kyle to go to.
Yeah. And I'll show up there magically.
Yeah.
A little more news. You mentioned Whelen Euro Series, their news a little bit ago. The NASCAR Pinty Series has a little bit of news as well. They're supposed to open their season on May 17th at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park in Bowmanville, Ontario, Canada. The track came out and said in a statement earlier this week that they too are on hold. All activity there is suspended for now, and hopefully, I'm not quite sure what the state is as far as lockdown is concerned up in Toronto, but hopefully they can get back going here pretty quick as well. But a great facility, and we often talk about the NASCAR Pinty Series as the last of the NASCAR tours to open up because of their weather up there. This actually might play into their favor, and they might actually get a couple races in before modifieds do, per se. So we'll see, but track officials did say that they are also on hold up there. A lot of activity at that racetrack between the go-kart racetrack and the, as they call it, the Grand Prix racetrack that we run with the NASCAR Gander trucks and the NASCAR Pinty Series. So.
And I know we talked about it a lot last week. Obviously, no real racing happening, but virtual racing, plenty of that going on. We talked about the Replacements 100. That was the inaugural kickoff. Just started us some fun between Kevin Hamlin and TJ Majors, the NASCAR spotters. That is now a regular thing. Every Wednesday night, you guys can tune in and watch that. The pro.
Dylan ran an IndyCar the other night.
Dylan did run an IndyCar the other night. He ran that Bommarito Invitational at Gateway. Did not make it out of the B main.
Well,
did he even make it to the B main?
Yeah, he made it to the B main. He was in a transfer spot when he wrecked in turn 2. Andy Seiss was also in that race, and he ended up upside down on the front stretch, tumbling. So, it happens.
Dylan is claiming technical difficulties in that wreck. He has the video footage to prove.
I got the pictures.
Yeah. Oh, yes. He was very fired up. We were at his house, and he has a balcony that the iRacing is on, and I was downstairs, and I would hear the of the wheel, and then I'd hear and he would be just cussing or whatever, and I'm like, he must not be doing very good. And then I would get a text message from you that said, dude. I was like,
he just broke both of his virtual legs.
Yeah.
In that turn 2 accident. But you know what? That's going to pass the time now for the month of April, for the month of May, probably. I know IndyCar's got a series going. NASCAR has a series going on a lot of different platforms. We have the NASCAR Heat platform on PlayStation and Xbox. We have the iRacing stuff on desktop computers. A lot happening virtually, and thanks to the internet, we can all watch together on applications such as this.
Kyle, do you have iRacing?
No. In fact, the folks from iRacing called today because they wanted me to get involved with what Stafford's doing. Stafford Speedway, another example of a NASCAR short track. They put together a Friday night program last week that had 55 drivers from their racetrack compete. Teddy Hodgson was able to claim the win, but they're looking for announcers and stuff. And my desktop is 15 years old. I can't find the cables to even plug it into a monitor. So, we're struggling right now with the iRacing stuff.
Well, send them my way. I'll be helping with Evergreen Speedway. They have a deal going on with their summer series. They're hosting virtual races, and I will be a part of the Summer Showdown. They're going to host a virtual Summer Showdown at the 5/8 mile. Excited to join that crew. Again, also helping with NASCAR Heat a bunch. Not sure when this episode is going out, but when it does, it'll have already probably passed that Kyle and I are announcing the NASCAR Heat race.
Again, if there's no technical issues.
If there's no technical, I might be solo at this point.
You might be.
Who knows? My dog Janet might also co-host. She's sitting at the door really mad that she can't come in while mom works. So it is what it is.
We're all in this together. We'll all get through it together. Stay healthy, stay 6 feet from anybody, and hopefully we'll all be back together soon at short tracks and big tracks near you here this summer.
Perfect. Well, we look forward to doing it again next week. Again, guys, let us know where you want Kyle to go this next week and tweet us a picture, tag Kyle and I, or our MRN Coast to Coast Twitter handle, and we'll get Kyle set up for that racetrack for next week.
Look forward to it.
Bye, guys.
You've been listening to NASCAR Coast to Coast, presented by Whelen, also brought to you by Hercules Tires. NASCAR Coast to Coast is a production of the Motor Racing Network. All rights reserved.